Hello and welcome to this presentation by myself, Ronan, Ryle and Jenny Johnston on the power of social media marketing and how the 3XM Solution Gallery helps with that whole process. So at 3XM we're all about facts, detail, not about all that fluffy stuff up in the air. So what we did was Jenny took control in March of a photographer called Nick Pearce in the UK, and she took control of his Facebook advertising. So you'll see later in this presentation how in that time Jenny spent £60 in advertising for Nick Pearce and created revenue of £2,700. Not only that, Nick continued the process after Jenny had showed him how, and you'll see the unbelievable results he had. But first I'm just going to bring you through my view of social media, where it all sits, and how we have built our knowledge of social media into our 3XM sharing galleries. So just a little bit about me. Like Jenny, I have qualifications in sales, I have qualifications in digital media marketing, as well as being in business for a very long time. So quite often photographers say to me, Ronan, what's this about social media and why do we need to embrace it? And there's a number of reasons why you need to embrace the power of social media. The first reason is that it's a great way to increase your bookings as a photographer. And I'm not going to talk a lot about that now because Jenny will be talking about that a little later. But you'll see how it's a great way to increase the bookings you get from your business. To me, it's a great way too to extend your sales reach. So just think about that. So now you'll see a little later when Jenny talks that Granny is now on social media. So let's imagine you've done that shoot of this lovely baby. The mother is delighted with the pictures and goes home. You put your gallery up. She shares the gallery on social media. Granny now sees that social share because she's now on social media. She comes in, she views the gallery. Now you can't tell me that Granny's not likely to go and buy some printed product, whether it's a framed print or a canvas or prints of her beautiful grandchild. And we're actually seeing that happen live. The other reason is that's where people now live. I have 4 children, aged 22, 19, 17 and a 12-year-old, and they just live on social media. They share all their moments day by day on social media. And you'll see some stats a little bit later from Jenny as to how much time people are now spending online. But a really important consideration with this is that 20 years ago, where would you locate your studio? You'd locate your studio on Main Street because of the footfall. Now, if you haven't got an online presence where your customers are, you're missing out, just like you would if you hadn't got a studio on Main Street 20, 30 years ago. And now it's time for Jenny to take over. Here she comes.
Hi everyone, so my name is Jenny Johnston. For those of you that don't know me, here's just a little bit about me. My background is in communications, and then I went on and did a master's in marketing. And then late last year I went and did a postgrad diploma in digital marketing. So my background has very much been in traditional marketing, press advertising, radio, TV, above the line marketing, direct mail, all that kind of stuff. And like I say, late last year then I went and did a diploma in digital marketing. And I suppose mainly the reason for that was in our business, so for Photo Value, for the Wedding Album Boutique and for the 3XM Solution, online and digital marketing has become increasingly important. And it's really, really beneficial to our business, and I'm going to hopefully show you how it could be really beneficial for your business. Before I joined the Photo Value Group, I worked as a consumer marketing manager in a telecoms company here in Ireland called Aircom. So very, very similar to BT in the UK. And while I was there, I managed a customer base of about 800,000 customers. So the reason I'm telling you that is when I worked there, I couldn't just send out one message and expect to have a good response. People are very different, and I just want you to be aware of that when you're targeting people with advertising and marketing messages. Just consider your audience and consider the different types of messages that different segments of your audiences might respond to. So for example, if you're a wedding photographer and you're trying to target brides-to-be, that's going to be a very different message to, for example, a mother of a newborn baby. And you might think that they're the same audience, and yes, there are a lot of similarities, but the message should be different and the targeting should also be different. So I manage all marketing and social media for our 3 brands. So they are the Wedding Album Boutique, which I mentioned. So that's a consumer brand where we target brides and grooms directly and we sell wedding albums. Photo Value, you probably know us. We make a lot of strut mounts and folders. So if you're a wedding or event or a school's photographer, you may use us for strut mounts. We make in and around about 10 million strut mounts and folders every year. And obviously the 3XM solution, which is probably how most of you know us, is we have some innovative online galleries that are specifically designed for your client to help them share and sell images. And obviously our shiny USBs, which most people know us for. So let's kick off. Okay, so social media stats, it's huge. It's really, really hard to find a big brand now that's not on social media. So what does that mean? It means A, it's pretty hard for you to stand out from the crowd now, but B, you can do it. So don't be put off by the big brands that are doing it really well. So obviously people like Coca-Cola and Red Bull do social media quite well, but you can also do really well. I'm going to show you exactly how to do that in a couple of minutes. The big 9, so there's, the big ones, obviously Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, they're the big social networks. And these stats are slightly out of date now. So now, for example, Facebook has grown from 1.19 billion active users late last year to 1.4 billion active users in the first quarter of 2015. So this is why the big brands are on social media. Your customers are on social media. In the UK, for every single hour and every single day, people are online for 13 minutes. And obviously people have to sleep as well. So in fact, for those hours where people are awake, this is probably, much, much greater than this. So I'm going to focus on Facebook because it is the biggest social network, and most photographers usually have a Facebook business page. If you don't, I think you should start one. I think it can have a really great impact on your business, and I'll tell you why. People always say to me, you know what, Jenny, it's just young people on Facebook. And my answer, if you've heard me talk before, it's always this. It is not just young people that are active on Facebook. So yes, younger people have massive usage. So if you look there, 18 to 29-year-olds have an 89% usage. So pretty much everyone between the ages of 18 to 29 are on Facebook. But if you look at the over 65 bracket, 43% are using social media. And this is the fastest growing demographic of people on Facebook right now. So if you're doing a newborn shoot and you want to maybe target grandparents and so on, they are probably on Facebook. So start to think about that in your messaging, in your targeting. Start to trial different things and see if it works for you. If you're a wedding photographer, your brides-to-be are on Facebook. Start to use that in advertising and in ad targeting on Facebook. Think about your screen size. So more and more people are shopping or browsing social media online on a smartphone, on a mobile device, on a tablet. So just think about that. Again, when you're planning different things, don't put lots of text in. Think about the size of the screen and keep it concise as much as possible. So I'm the biggest advocate for social media. I think, like I say, it can have huge potential and great impact for your business. But it's not the silver bullet. It doesn't mean that you can just do social media and forget about any other forms of marketing. So just recognize, I think it's really important to recognize what it does for your business. So what does it do? It gives you a great level of engagement. So again, if you think back to in the past, you may in the past have done, for example, a newspaper ad. So in a newspaper ad, it was one single message put into the newspaper in the little slot on whatever page it was on, and that was it. And people might have seen it, but they may not have been relevant for your business. So with social media, and in particular with Facebook advertising, you get a great level of engagement. You can start to have a two-way conversation with customers and potential customers. So it's no longer about one single message put out there to see what happens. You can start to engage with people. You only have to pay for advertising that's very, very relevant to your business. So there's no wastage. You don't have to spend money advertising to people that are never going to walk into your studio. It also gives you that level of interaction, starts to build advocacy, so you can start to become known as, the authority on photography within your area. So use it for that. It's great for reaching people that you might otherwise never reach, and obviously for your brand. Gets your brand in front of potential customers, which is really, really important. So how do you turn social fans into customers? Well, this is the $1,000,000 question, and people always say to me, you know what, how much is a Facebook fan worth to me, and how much should I spend to get a Facebook fan? And this is different for everybody's business, and there is no concrete answer on this. But I absolutely do believe that it is possible to turn your fans into customers. And in order to do that, you need to start proving your value. So start to post engaging content on your page, get the conversation started, and think about your customer when you're creating content. So I have a rule. It's the 3-1-1 rule. It's 3 soft posts for 1 hard sell and 1 soft sell. So if on our page, for example, we were always posting content about buy now, shop here, buy this, here's a special offer, it gets really, really boring really, really quickly. So it is important to remember that your fans are primarily on Facebook to interact with friends, family, and brands that they choose to interact with. So don't become spammy. Keep it engaging. Think about the types of things your customers want to see. If it's a bride-to-be, they're interested in wedding planning. So for example, you might do things like top tips before you hire a photographer, or things to consider for your wedding photography. That kind of content is stuff that audience, that is relevant for that audience. So start to post engaging content on your page. Build an email list. So data is really powerful when used well on Facebook. So you can do things like custom audiences and lookalike audiences. And I'm not going to cover that today. It's a little bit more advanced. But when you're confident advertising on Facebook, then you can move on to that. And it's really, really clever. So for now, just start to build an email list. Start to collect data from every single person that you interact with and start creating that list. And find out what your customers really want. So send them surveys, talk to them, ask them what they want. Use Facebook for market research. That part of it is completely free, so you may as well do it. So I decided to put my money where my mouth is. I'm always telling photographers you should do this and try that and so on, but I had never actually run a professional photographer's Facebook page. So we did an experiment. I took over a Facebook page that belongs to a professional photographer and I ran it for 3 weeks. Within that 3 weeks, I controlled all aspects of the page. So I looked after all of the content, all of the adverts, and all of the scheduling, when they got posted and so on. I'm going to take you through exactly what I did and then the results we achieved. So here's a little bit of background. This is the page I took over. So it was Pierce Photography. So Nick Pierce is the photographer. He's based in an area called Chippenham. So he had a social media presence. He had a page built. He put stuff up there occasionally. There was no real structure to how he did things though. So many of you are probably in the same boat. You have a page. If or when you have time, you post something up there and you post content. So it's really important to start to get a pattern for social media. It's not really something you can do ad hoc, but it doesn't have to take forever. So I have what I call Social Media Monday. So every Monday I go into the office, I spend a couple of hours looking at what's coming up for the week, what's going on, and I schedule everything in advance. You don't have to be online at 10 o'clock at night to post something at 10 o'clock at night. I'll show you exactly how to do that a bit later, but this is again a bit of background about Nick's page. So he'd never had a booking from Facebook and he'd never paid for a single Facebook ad. So one thing that's really important for me to say to you guys is Facebook is not free. So I'll say that again. Facebook is not free. If you've had a page for quite some time, you may have noticed that in the past you would post some content and you get quite a lot of interaction. So you might have had people liking or commenting or sharing on that post. And I'm sure you've noticed more and more that has decreased. So that's what's called organic reach. So organic reach has decreased dramatically over the last kind of couple of months or so. And the reason for this is Facebook is obviously a business and it's a commercial business and they want to make money from paid advertising. And it's as simple as that. So Facebook is not free. If you don't pay to promote your posts and to promote your content on your page, you won't have a very far reach. Doesn't mean it has to cost a fortune. It can cost very, very little, in fact, and you can do really well with very small budgets. So here's a typical post that was on Nick's page before I took over the account. So the post is on the right-hand side. So Nick is a cherubs photographer. So primarily the content on the Facebook page was focusing on cherubs. And this was one of the posts. So if you look at that on the right-hand side, there was a huge amount of text in this. So I would probably read the Pierce Photography piece, maybe the cherubs watch me grow, and that's pretty much it. And again, if you go back to what I said earlier, people are looking mostly at Facebook and online on their mobile phones. So they are on a tiny screen size, and this text is going to look teeny tiny. So images perform best on Facebook, and you guys are all photographers, so you should have some really great images to use. And Facebook recognise that images work best. So that is why if you want to do any kind of paid promotion or paid advert on Facebook, there needs to be less than 20% text in the image or on the ad. So first of all, Nick wasn't paying to promote this, so there was one like on it, very few people were seeing it. And second of all, even if he wanted to promote this, if he had paid to do a promoted post, it wouldn't have got approved because there is just far too much text in it. So Ronan's going to come back and talk a little bit about how can the 3XM solution help you in your business, and then I'll come back on towards the end and go through exactly what I did on Nick's page and the kind of results that we got.
Thanks, Jenny. That's great. Okay, so we talked a little earlier about the 3XM solution and how we've made it really, really easy for your client to share the gallery and the image on social media. Before I go and physically show you a live gallery, I just want to talk a couple of things about what's unique about our galleries. So apart from making sharing easy, we charge absolutely 0% commission on any sale of any product from the gallery. We're a firm believer in that there's no way that we should ever be in possession of your money. The second thing is we use a payment provider called Stripe. Now Stripe are an amazing company which allows us to split a payment in two when the consumer buys something. So what does this mean? Well, what it means is that when your consumer makes a purchase of a product from a gallery that you host on 3XM, that the profit on any sale goes straight into your bank account. So you're never waiting on us to pay out money that belongs to you. You can have absolutely unlimited free galleries with up to 100 images per gallery. Or if you need more than 100 images per gallery, or you need some additional functionality such as watermarking and favoriting of images as a design selection tool, then you use one of our pro accounts. So let's just go and have a look now, if we can, at a gallery. So the first thing to remember is that everything for any shoot that you want to do is all controlled here in your 3XM control panel. So this is your control panel as a photographer to control everything. Here you'll see a home tab. Across the top is the shoots that you've done to date, your clients, your account details, your pricing, where you set up your pricing. And the first time you do this, you just need to connect with Stripe there to allow those payments go through, any orders, and we have training and downloads in here. Let's just go and have a look then. So you've created your first gallery, you've processed the shoot, and you've sent a link to your client by email. So when your client clicks on the link, this is what they see. A beautiful gallery that's laid out very Pinteresty, because we know that the ladies love Pinterest. So up here is the name that I've given this shoot, which is Annabelle and Jeff Wedding. It's always referenced back to you as the professional photographer. So anybody who comes in here and sees this gallery can click there. They can see all your details, your contact details, wherever you want to put in about yourself, your logo, your website, which is a link to your website, and all your social media activity. So if you're on LinkedIn or Facebook or Twitter or Google+, they're all links to you. We go one step further in that from here they can actually send you an inquiry. So imagine now that the wedding that we're just looking at here was shared by the bride on social media. A bridesmaid or someone else who was at the wedding comes through, clicks on the link, remembers that you were a great photographer, and then decides to make contact with you there. So we've made it really simple for that client to contact you. So let's just have a look at the gallery. So you'll see here, as I hover over the gallery, you'll see two little icons coming up. The first icon is a favoriting icon, and that is a great tool for a pre-selection before album design, where your client can favorite images, and then you as the photographer can go and see that folder of images in your control panel. There's some videos online if you want to see that in place on our 3XM YouTube channel. Or the client can make a purchase here, and when they make a purchase and they click on an image to purchase, they only see the product that you have made on offer to this client. So whether it's framed prints or it's just prints on their own, or its canvases. You choose what products, you set the selling price that client pays for that product, and in 2 simple steps the client can order that product, and straight away that payment then is sent into your bank account. The order is sent direct to the lab. The lab then produce the image, white label, package it, and send it directly to your client on your behalf. So let's talk about sharing. So we already said that we've built the functionality in here to make sharing really, really easy from a gallery. So from here you can see our client with one click of a button can share that gallery on their Facebook page or on Twitter or on Pinterest. They say something about it, share, and it's then shared on their page. So if you think of that as a referral marketing tool, so now your client is starting to do your selling on your behalf via the share of the gallery on her social media, because it's all referenced back to you as the photographer. If the client clicks on an individual image, they can then click on the individual image and they can share that image too from here. So that particular image gets shared. And you'll see here that Paul Vanders has chosen to put a watermark on his bigger images. There's no need for them to be on the smaller images, because in the smaller images they're only about 700 kilobytes, so they don't print up to anything. And by putting a watermark on these images, we believe actually spoils the Pinteresty look and feel, and it will affect the opportunity to sell that product. Okay, so that's me finished with the demo on 3XM. I'm now going to hand back to Jenny so that Jenny will now show you what she did for Nick, how she went about the advertising, and how she got that unbelievable off the charts return on investment. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Ronan. So now I'm going to talk to you about exactly what I did on our social media experiment when I took over Pierce Photography's Facebook page. So the first thing I did was I updated the look and feel of the page and created a call to action. So in the past, on your cover photo, Facebook didn't allow you to have what's called a call to action. So like call us on your phone number, or email us at whatever. They didn't allow that. Even if you designed your own cover photo, if they saw something like that, they would have asked you to remove it. So now they have their own feature where you can add a Facebook call to action button. So if you haven't yet done this, if you go onto your page, if you look at your big hero cover photo image, you'll see a big Facebook blue button that says add call to action. And there's a whole list of things to choose from. You can choose shop now, learn more, contact us, and so on. So just choose the one that's most relevant for you and your business, and it's about 3 clicks and it's done. So for Nick, we had a contact us button, and that linked straight to the contact us page on his website. I also updated the cover photo. So if you might remember, I showed at the beginning the original cover photo. It was nice and it was well designed. It just had a lot of black lines around it, and I just thought, you know what, we're trying to appeal to new mums here. The kind of softer, more female, more feminine type approach was maybe a little bit better, so we updated the cover photo as well. As soon as we did this, we had people whose kids were in the photo start to comment. So straight away, Nick had great feedback on his page from previous customers. So that meant anyone new coming onto the page who had not yet maybe booked Nick saw these great comments, and isn't that a good testimonial to have on your page? So check out your cover photo, make sure it's suitable for your core market. So who are you primarily targeting? Is it weddings? Is it babies? And add your call to action. So that was the first thing that I did on Nick's page. The second thing I did was I added competitor insights. So if you go to your Insights tab, so this is where you might know it from seeing things like your trends, so new likes this week, new comments this week, and it's kind of like a little graph, and it shows you how you're performing this week versus the previous week. If you're on a desktop, and if you scroll all the way to the bottom, you'll see a section called Pages to Watch. And in there, you can add competitor pages and keep an eye on what they're doing. They'll never know that you're watching them, but it's just really good to be able to see, you know what's working well on social media, what's working well on Facebook for these competitors in the area. So I didn't know Nick's business very well, but he told me who his competitors were. I was able to add them here, and straight away I could see what was working in that exact area with those other photographers. So you might think the people who have the most likes perform best. So the number 1 person there, I have them all blanked out just in case anyone's on the call, but the number 1 person there had 1,100 page likes. The number 2 competitor had 1,000 likes, but they had the biggest level of engagement that week. So they had 66 people like, comment, or share on their posts within that week. So then I was able to click in there from this panel. You can click in to see, well, what are the best performing posts for that week? And so straight away I was able to see the type of content that people in Nick's area were responding to. So this is a really useful tool to see what your competitors are doing, what kind of offers they're doing, what kind of price points they're talking about, and so on. And I don't suggest that you copy anything they're doing, but at least if you know what they're doing, you can do something similar or react to it. So that's a really, really useful one. And that piece of it is free, so make sure you use that. Then we started looking at creating and scheduling content. So like I mentioned earlier, you don't have to be online all day, every day to be able to post content. This is the first post I put up. So if you notice, it's one single image, a hero image of a baby. And the text is totally removed from the image part. The text is all above the image. So I scheduled them in advance. So I spent about 3 or 4 hours in total in the 3 weeks managing this page. So within the 3 weeks we had a convention in WPPI in Las Vegas. We had some people visit us at our office in Dublin for a couple of days. We were prepping for the photography show at the NEC. So it was really, really busy. And obviously I have my normal things that I do for our own social media pages and so on, our other kind of traditional marketing that we do. So it was really busy. You don't have to spend a huge amount of time to do really well on social media. If you get a good plan, a good structure in place, schedule everything in advance. So you'll see here, this is how you schedule if you don't know how to do it. Rather than hit post, there's a little arrow on the right hand side. If you click that arrow and select the word that says schedule, a little calendar will pop up, and then you choose your date, choose your time, and hit schedule. And Facebook will put that into a queue then and put it up and publish it on that date at that time. So this is why I have a social media Monday. I plan everything in advance. I schedule all of the content for that week in advance, and then it just goes. I don't have to think about it. So back to this first post. So it's one hero image. The text is all above. So you can have as much text as you like above. But what I will say to you is think about Twitter. So on Twitter is hugely successful, and it works because it's short snippets of information. It's 100 characters or less. So where possible, just keep that in mind. Try and reduce the text as much as possible. And make sure you have a very, very clear call to action. So the call to action on this first post was pop us a mail here or call us on. And the reason I did that was Nick's website was quite text heavy. And so I wanted to keep people within Facebook where possible. So that's why I said, pop us a mail here. I know for our own website, we know that our customers, once we get them onto our website, we're more likely to make a sale. So for most of our 3XM stuff, I direct people to our website. So think about how does your website perform? Is it a good website? Do you get inquiries through your website? Do you get bookings through your website? And if so, maybe send them to your website. So contact us and a link to your website, or maybe a phone number as well. I also used hashtags. So you're probably familiar with hashtags mostly from Twitter. So obviously on Twitter, hashtags are really, really popular and work really well. You can use hashtags to search for relevant or topical kind of conversations that are happening. They also work on Facebook. They're probably not used as much, but again, it's no harm to have them in there. So Nick is a cherubs photographer, so we use the hashtag cherubs and hashtag photography. So then you start to post relevant content that's engaging. So I mentioned this again at the beginning. So here are some examples of the types of content that I posted over the 3 weeks. So again, lots of babies, that's its focus. So hero images, babies, families and portraits are also popular. A shameless plug for our lovely jeweled heart USB over there, and so on. So everything that you see there, I've scheduled, in a couple of hours, and that rolled out across maybe the first week or so. And you might notice there's big orange bars just underneath all of the images. So in case you don't know, that the light orange colour, that's organic reach. That's the amount of people that have been reached with this post without paying for something. And then the dark orange colour is the paid for reach. So paid for reach is obviously much, much greater than organic reach. You're paying to get it out there. I spent about £3.50 on every post that I did for Nick during the 3 weeks. So it doesn't have to be huge money. I always recommend starting small. So start with about £3.50, and if it works and if it's performing well, then you can increase your budget, and you'll know if it's working. You'll know from Facebook results and stats, and you'll also know from the kind of level of inquiries and so on that you're getting. So once we started posting content and paying for content to be promoted on Facebook, we start getting a great level of engagement on the page. So again, here's an example of something that I had up. So the left-hand side is the post, so the text is all on top, really clear call to action. That one had a phone number and a link to the website, and again, the use of hashtags. And that picture showed the triple folio that all of Nick's Cherubs clients receive when they book a session. So this one we spent £3.50. As soon as we posted this and page promoted, obviously people were then seeing it and people started interacting with it. So people were saying, I saw this, thought of you for your friend. Someone else is saying, oh, thank you, that's lovely, and so on. And they're saying, yeah, we'll have a look at doing it. That would be great for your little one. I mean, this is the type of stuff that you cannot pay enough for. This is really strong, positive endorsement for your service. You know, when someone recommends your service to a friend, it's a referral. A referral is the strongest form of marketing you can get. So just by doing some paid advertising on Facebook, Nick started getting this great level of engagement on his page. So while I was running the page, it was Mother's Day, so it was in and around March. So during the 3 weeks, Mother's Day happened. So we scheduled some special offers around Mother's Day. And here's a post about Mother's Day. So this one is 2 pictures, and this is the view that you sometimes get with Facebook if you have two images going up at once. So again, 2 images, no text on the image. The text is all above. This time, hashtag Mother's Day, hashtag photography was still there, and a link to the website. So Nick built a specific landing page for this offer. So again, the call to action was straight to the website or call us on. With this particular one, I was trying to target males only. So I was really trying to capture those people that might have been buying the present for either a wife, mother of their kids, or their own mother. So you'll see the targeting there is in that middle box. So it was people who are male within his area. So don't spend money targeting people that are miles and miles away from your studio that are never going to pay to come in. You can narrow the location down, so rather than, the entire UK or all of Ireland, change it to different cities or counties. So for Nick, we targeted Chippenham plus 10 miles and Lyneham plus 10 miles because they're the 2 catchment areas that he covers mostly. And then we use the interest targeting to try and capture people that are fathers, husbands, and so on. So pay attention to that when you're doing your ad. Make sure you have your location set, change the age if it's relevant, change the gender if it's relevant. If you're a newborn photographer, the only people that you're interested in are engaged people. So target ads based on relationship status. And you can do that in the Adverts Manager on Facebook. It's quite easy. So if you're a wedding photographer, engaged, female, because they're really the decision maker in that process, and change your age as well. As soon as we did this targeted Mother's Day ads, we had this girl say, how much is it? Can I come in? Can I bring my dog? You know what? The answer to that was absolutely yes, come on in. So I mentioned a minute ago, referrals are the strongest form of marketing you can get. And here's a great example. So again, once we started targeting people on Facebook, people started commenting. This girl here, Sarah Louise Clemens, tagged her friend Gemma and said, Gemma, you know what? This is who we've used and he's great. Laura said, I used him too, Gemma, for Cherubs. Gemma then said, how much do you charge for the prints? There was a private mail conversation then between Nick and Gemma, and she then booked in. That ad cost £3.50. There's another example up above, Hayley Smith. I've always used this company, they're great. These are really strong. If you can get your existing customers to do things like this on your page, to comment and say what a great experience they've had, and to give positive feedback, then any potential customer that lands on your page and reads that, it's building a level of trust. It's sort of reinforcing the fact that, you know what, other people have booked you as a photographer and they've had a good experience, so why wouldn't you? So start to use existing customers and existing clients as well. And if they see stuff on Facebook, if you use their images on your Facebook page, they usually do that anyway. So here's the results that we had on the posts. So this view is just showing every post that I did while I ran the page. The 3 highlighted in red are the top performing posts. It's kind of hard to see, but essentially the 3 top performing posts were all related to the Mother's Day offer. So everyone that had the best response was Mother's Day. The 3 red things, apologies, they're actually slightly off. So it's the 3rd post down. So it said, why not book a portrait session at a Chippenham-based studio for Mother's Day, and so on. Had a reach of about 3,000. Again, everything in dark orange is the paid for reach, and light orange is the organic reach. So I suppose it makes sense to me that the Mother's Day offers performed really well. So we timed them, a week in advance, a week of, and a couple of days before Mother's Day. It was all about, why not give the gift of a great memory, a great experience, capture these memories, have something to treasure, to cherish for years to come, put it on a wall, on some wall art, or frame it, or whatever. And it was timely and it was relevant. So that makes sense to me. So start to think about big events and big occasions and plan in advance. What can you do around Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, Christmas, Easter, and so on? And promote your offers on Facebook. Promote your offers to people in your area on Facebook, make them relevant, make them targeted, and they should have really good results. So it was really great for Nick that these ones worked really well. He got some bookings straight away and it was brilliant. We also ran a Facebook ad just to increase his page likes. So this was an ongoing ad for about 10 days. We spent £3.50 a day on it. And again, we only targeted people in his area. No point paying for people who are 50 or 100 miles away, who are never going to travel. You know yourself the kind of radius that you attract people from. So use that in your targeting and only target people within that radius. This was, again, this was an ad to try and drive Facebook likes. So we excluded people who already liked the page. Again, no point paying for people who already liked the page when the whole objective was to increase the page likes. So just keep an eye on that as well. So here's the results. So within 3 weeks, we spent, apologies now because my account is in euro, but about €78, which is in and around £60. Nick had 6 direct bookings. So that was a cost of about €19 per booking. So in and around maybe £15 or so per booking. He gets an average order value of £600. So that's based on newborn sessions and having 3 sessions across one whole year. So the expected revenue from a £60 spend was £2,700. So that's pretty good. So that was a very short-term tactical response to this ad campaign. And it was amazing. It's great to spend a bit of money and make some money. But I absolutely believe that longer term, the benefit and the impact of this is much, much greater. So now Nick has continued this on and he's doing amazing with Facebook. It's about 8 weeks on now. So he's building trust and authority. He's becoming really well known within his local area as, he is the photographer in our area. So now if someone asks, can you recommend a photographer? Hopefully people have heard of him, are a little bit more familiar with him and are more likely to recommend him to a friend. So I think long term, the impact is going to be great. Nick is now building a pipeline of customers for the future. And that's what Facebook can do for you. Start to engage with people, start to post relevant content. You're building your pipeline of customers for the future. I don't think I mentioned at the beginning of this, but Nick is, I did say that Nick is a Cherubs customer, but what I didn't say is he was really struggling to convert his Cherubs leads. So if anyone's not familiar with Cherubs, essentially he buys data from the MPA of expecting mothers and then tries to convert them into newborn photography shoots. So the way that works is he gets address details and contact details, and he sends a letter, and that's how the whole Cherubs program works. It's a letter to the contact person. So he had been sending his letters, and for the previous 3 months he had no conversion, so he was really struggling to convert them. About 2 weeks into our Facebook advertising, Nick sent the very same letter, so there were no changes to the letter, and he got 16 Cherubs bookings. So what I asked Nick was, well, is that a coincidence that the only thing to change was the fact that we started doing Facebook advertising and all of a sudden your conversions for Cherubs leads have gone through the roof? And so he rang 1 or 2 people, and I think of the people he managed to get through to, they all said yes, they had seen him on Facebook. And I absolutely don't think it's a coincidence. I think it's completely related. If you think about the types of ads we were doing on Facebook, they were all very targeted within his area to new mothers, people who were like parents, and so on. So it makes sense to me that his catchment area, his targeting for Cherubs, that the people he sent the letter to were also the same targeting that we use for Facebook. And so they were probably a little bit more familiar with them. They knew the name and so on. And then a letter came through the door to say, you know what? I'm your local Cherubs photographer. Do you want to book this? And I believe that, of course, they're more likely to book because they're a little bit more familiar with them, because they've probably seen some content. So that's really, really powerful. So again, if you think back to what I said at the beginning, Facebook is not the silver bullet. But because of doing Facebook ads, Nick's Cherubs business has gone through the roof. So the impact across the board can be really, really brilliant. To continue it on, Nick has, like I said, he's done an amazing job. He's kept it up. He's now in total spent about £189 and he's booked revenue of over £12,000. I mean, that is phenomenal results by, for anyone to get. That's amazing. And Nick is not someone who was confident with Facebook before we started this process. He's basically just taken a couple of simple steps that, like I showed you throughout this, and implemented them, and he's done brilliant. So I hope you can take some learnings from that and know that, you know what, you don't have to spend a fortune and you can make a lot of money. On the right hand side, a little testimonial from Nick about one of the Cherubs Roadshows that we attended, where I did this social media talk, and we went through the case study of his social media experiment. But he's basically just saying, you know what, I spent 189 quid and I made this much money. And it takes him between 45 minutes to 60 minutes per week. So it does not have to take forever. I hope this shows you how to attract more customers, how to reach your target audience, and so on. If you can follow these simple steps, I'm really sure that you'll have some good successes. If you have any questions, pop onto our Facebook page. It's 3XM Solution, and feel free to ask any questions. We're going to have a Fix It Friday every Friday from now on. So for an hour from about 11 to 12 every Friday, I'll be online. I'll be there. I'll answer any questions you might have. So feel free to get in touch. And apologies again about the issue we had with the webinar yesterday, but I hope that this video makes up for it, and again, I hope you learned something from it. Thank you very much.
And a big thank you from me as well, Ronan and Ryle. So we'll see you all on Friday, 11 to 12 on the 3XM Facebook page. Thank you. Bye now.